no doubt a bittersweet weekend last week in Waupun, Wisconsin for showgoers at what could well be the last edition of the decades-running Waupun Truck-N-Show. Our Overdrive news editor Matt Cole was on hand talking to many among the owner-operators and other truckers in attendance. One such was Dane Wisneski, owner of 3 Truck Small Fleet HDR LLC, headquartered there in the state. Owner Wisneski recalled fondly his time attending the show during every single one of his years in business from the time he started with just one truck.
We have been coming here for the last 6 years straight. The first year that I built this truck, we brought it down here and we took, I don't even remember what they are. I'm not even gonna say what trophies they were, but we took first place in 3 different categories for it in the first year. And it was, I think it was the metal flake and the orange paint that everybody's eyeballs got big, and then all of a sudden, like the next year, I started seeing metal flake in every truck. It was like, okay, did they see that, or is it just caught on, But we've been here every year for the last 6 years, whether we had stuff going on in the weekend. I think 2 years ago we had a wedding and I couldn't even make it. We still came down here, made it show for one day, and then we went home that night, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then we were going to the wedding the next day. The thing is it's kind of sad because there's a lot of guys that enjoy coming to this show. This is one show that we will never miss, and I hope that somebody maybe takes it over. So if anybody's watching this and sees it, more props to you. I hope you do. Our younger generation of guys that, there's a lot of people here that are running this that are in their 60s and 70s since this has started, or damn near close, The younger generation such as I that's coming through the ranks needs to step up outside of us and maybe take on that initiative to help out too. Otherwise this stuff it's gonna die, And I know it's hard, but we gotta step it up. So
I'm Todd Dills, your host for this edition of the Overdrive Radio podcast that will take even more of the temperature among owners of the Waupun show, not only as it relates to the kind of wistfulness with a challenge to the next generation that you heard there from owner-operator Wisneski. Given August 22 is coming fast, and we're hosting that day an online session geared toward exchanging ideas around building trucking business to weather the inevitable ups and downs of the business cycles. Given that, Cole asked 5 owners you'll hear from today some of the same basic questions. What had they done in response to the current long ongoing down markets?
That's really your biggest cost. That's really like the one thing you can really factor, or will change the easiest and the fastest is how much fuel you're burning. So gotta pay attention to that a little bit better. But
is there any hope that this year's presidential election's conclusion might deliver certainty to the spenders out there such that freight might improve significantly in the years to come?
It always has a great bearing on things. There's no way around that because there's change and people freak out when there's change. Whether it's good or bad, they don't like change,
Or in other words, is there a chance the prognosticators foreseeing growth in 2025 rather than any kind of full-blown economic recession? Is there any chance they could be right, delivering freight market improvements?
I hope so.
Settle in for a lightning round on the subject of micro and macro trucking economics, as it were, from the point of view of an ag-heavy crowd at the Waupun show. We'll hear along the way from Brett Busky, owner-operator Brian Bushnell, father and son, small fleet Dan and Daniel, Lynn, more from Dane Wisneski, and finally, one owner-operator Nate Stone, who shares at least one trait in common with our August 22 set panelist owner-operator Ilya Denisenko, and that he started his owner-operator business at perhaps the most opportune of inopportune times. If that makes sense. Right at the bottom of the market. It's kind of like that old Frank Sinatra song about New York City. If you can make it there, at the bottom, profit to show for it, well, you might be able to make it anywhere. Keep tuned.
Keep your rig running right year-round with Howe's Diesel Defender. It provides maximum lubricity to protect your entire system and contains specialized IDX4 detergent to clean and prevent deposits. It safely removes harmful water and guarantees a 5% increase in fuel economy or more. Diesel Defender is now available at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. You can also grab a bottle at truck stops nationwide or have it delivered when you shop the Howe store on Amazon. Defend your diesel with Howe.
Find more information at HOWES, houseproducts.com. First up,
Brett Busky Trucking LLC.
Brett Busky, pulling in a custom 379 that's part of he and his father's 7-truck fleet, noted business for them had been good of late, though not without its challenges.
We do a lot of work with farmers, so there's always stuff to be hauled on the farms, and We do a little bit of municipal stuff too, so that we deal with that too.
Awesome. Staying busy, I guess.
Oh yeah, always. We've seen stuff go up and down, but you're gonna have that. You know, fuel price is a killer too.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff we do, you know, is fuel included, so that helps, but a lot of it's not. So, but it is what it is. Stuff's got to keep moving. Can't shut it down. Just, you know, just kind of ride it out and see where it goes. Can't really change it that much. It is what it is. But you run a little bit older trucks, you know, you got an extra cost here and there. So we tried to get, a newer truck or two and better fuel mileage. You know, that helps. Fuel mileage helps. A little bit more aerodynamic, but other than that, can't really change it. So we have 7 total.
Okay.
We got 5 379s with C15s in them, and then we have a brand new W990 with X15, and then we got a Mac with an MP8 with M drive in it.
Okay.
So that one pulls a tanker most of the time.
The fuel mileage theme you'll hear again, that's certain. Biggest cost area that can be impacted in all sorts of ways by owner-operators. You'll hear it from the next voice up for this lightning round, a familiar one, for me anyway. I met owner-operator Brian Bushnell during the 2017 ELD mandate protests in Washington, D.C.
I've been driving for, I think, 15 years total now. 15 or 16, somewhere in there.
Bushnell's been an owner-operator for about half of that time, pulling in a 2002 Peterbilt 379 and today leased to Drake Hauling.
I'm not good with bosses. So it's not good with rules. So it was easier to make my own rules, and if I break my own rules, I can get nobody to blame but myself. So it just worked out better.
Why he became an owner-operator to start with, as it were. As with Brett Busky, Bushnell's been somewhat insulated on the revenue side of the profit equation for the challenges of the last couple of years, given he's pulling hopper freight supporting ag operations. Costs remain his principal concern and means to backstop profit, and he's been doing what he can to keep them in control.
We've got good customers, so we've been lucky. It's been really rough on a lot of people, really, really rough on a lot of people lately, and man, my heart goes out to a lot of them. I'm very lucky with where I'm at and what I've been doing. So I thank God for that every day, man. But we're a little more protected from the economy, the ups and downs of the economy, and that's where we kind of lucked out on. But it's just rough, man. It's just rough. Fuel prices, insurance rates, everything. It's just rough all the way around. Yeah, we slowed down. Slowed down a lot. Yeah, we don't drive as fast anymore because burn too much fuel. So try to do what you can saving fuel. That's really your biggest cost. That's really like the one thing you can really factor, or will change the easiest and the fastest is how much fuel you're burning. So kind of pay attention to that a little bit better, but that's really about it. That's all you really can change.
Next up, Dan Lynn and his son Daniel are showing a brand new Western Star, 2025 model in fact, Waupun, with their Lynn Acres Farms operation out of Bucyrus, Ohio.
We do dry bulk, ag and food grade products, hopper bottom. We bring products out of as far as South Florida, do a lot out of South Georgia up to Ohio, and we do a dedicated run from Ohio to Indiana for a local feed farm. And that's pretty much, we're farm background. We farm too, and I do trucking. This is the truck I just got here last spring. It's the second Western Star I owned. Before that, I owned quite a few Peterbilts. Business is steady, but the high costs, like everything, tires and food on the road, and all that is playing into it. What we used to eat is, like everybody else, is almost doubled, almost, not quite, but our rates have seemed to hold a little more stable maybe than the rest of the market. But the loads are thinner by means. I mean, sites that we would use on the computer, like bulk loads, I mean, there's just not as many loads posted. But lucky for us, I have quite a few direct customers. Is probably 90% of my business is my own direct customers. I've been with one customer Horde elevator for over 20 years, and I've really enjoyed a really good reputation and rapport with them. If we end up in a spot, where taking loads, one of our regular loads somewhere, and one of our other load isn't ready, we do. We mainly, but we get a lot of emails direct from brokers too, and things like that. But we use bulk loads is what we use mainly.
All right.
We're really happy with it. They have a lot of news on there too, and that really helps. You don't have to hunt everywhere for news. It's all right there when you open up your homepage.
Dan Lynn's talking there about the bulkloads.com specialized board. They are co-founded by Jared Flynn. Regular listeners might remember Flynn's Semi-Sam series of children's books he authored, in which we talked to him about here on the podcast in late 2022. Matt Cole then asked Lynn what, if anything, the Lynns had adjusted to cope with higher costs and, as Lynn noted, with fewer available loads. In essence, Lynn's trying to truck smarter, not harder.
We just do things a little smarter. We don't head out on load unless I know definitely what we're doing. Like the old days, you could kind of just head somewhere and you'd find something in between. But or make sure a plan, and I don't take every load that comes up. I mean, there's some loads I wouldn't mind doing, but there's one particular lane that I used to do 20 years ago, 15 maybe. It was a $900 over there and back trip, 200 some mile. The rate now is more like $600-700, and I just won't even touch it. I mean, it comes up, but if I did that years ago for $900, what am I going to do it today for $600 for?
And it go up and not down.
Yeah, and it's less than a 200-mile run one way.
Right.
So to me, those are round trip loads.
Yeah.
They want a specific time. You can't have a load at the other end waiting, all like that. Yeah. And anything like that to me is based on a round trip rate.
Wisconsin headquartered HDR small fleet and HDL brokerage owner Dane Wisneski showed a 2007 Kenworth W900L at Waupun and laid out for Matt Cole the basics of the business.
We're based out of Mosinee, Wisconsin. Started out as a cop, actually, and worked as a cop in a couple small town departments. And a good friend of mine, Chad Berry, that lives down the road from my parents, kind of helped us through. I had a lot of questions and get him started, and we bought a truck and went trucking. And it's been lights out, we've been nonstop grow, and we do a lot of open deck flatbed stuff, from RGN to step deck to flatbed work. So it's pretty busy, and this is our maiden voyage truck that started it all. We started in 2016. Started with one truck. We're up to 3 now. Owner ops up and down every once in a while. We get coming on with us. And 2 years ago, we started a brokerage as well, which is HDL, Heather Dane Logistics, and HDR, the acronym is Heather Dane Rigs. But it was a lot of our customers that, they had a lot of issues with other trucking companies not being able to meet the demand, or they say one thing and they can't give them what they tell them. So we ran into that a lot, and we outgrew our company tenfold. We just could not keep up. So we started a brokerage to help them. So I know so many different owner ops in our industry that are around in the last how many years that I'd rather have them haul for us and move the equipment. And what comes down to is a lot of companies, they don't want to sign new companies on because it is a hassle. So if we're already in the door moving their stuff and I can hire Joe Schmo to come help us, boom, they're in the door and they can help us run, and we're honest about it. We're upright, I always tell our guys, you come haul for us, I take our 10%, it's up front. You want me to prove it? I don't care. I'll show it. I'll put it in your face. That's what we do. We're not here to ever screw anybody over. I make a couple dollars off it and the truck makes what it needs to make. And it's worked a lot. We've grown our brokerage tenfold. Last year, her first year moving the brokerage stuff, she moved over $1 million of inventory in her first year with all direct customers. This year, we're on par for over $2 million. So, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I'm juggling a lot of it, being in the truck, running drivers down the road, trying to help her with brokerage, with quoting and doing things like that. And now we're moving into the industry of taking on projects and working on trucks for people, whether we're painting, doing custom work or insurance work for people. So there's a lot going on, a lot of moving process. And it's in today's economy, we kind of got to be a well-rounded company because sometimes trucking is just not that busy. We do load boards, very depending on the year, spring, summer, fall, all direct customers. I'd say probably 75 to 80% of our loads are all direct customers. We run out and about. If I get into areas that I can't find freight, I'll look on the load boards, we use them, but if it's not paying what we're not paying or what we need to break even or move it down the road, we'll head home, or I'll call our niche of customers or guys that I know and, hey, you have somebody's contact out here, you know, and we work together. That's what the industry needs to start doing a little bit more, I think, especially with this economy. You know, can't be out for your own. You got to work together to get somewhere.
And what about this freight economy? Cole asked. With the election coming up, Wisniewski saw the likelihood of change fairly high in the aftermath, as yet unlikely to move fast.
It always has a great bearing on things. There's no way around that. Because there's change and people freak out when there's change. Whether it's good or bad, they don't like change, you know. So whether people are buying stuff and things are moving and they're not buying stuff and things aren't moving, there's no way around it, so it's going to change. I don't think it's going to happen overnight with an election being, you know, some people praise this person and that person. I'm not pro anything. I'm pro common sense, you know, what makes sense and what helps us in an industry. I don't think the election being determined in November and then December we're going to flip a light switch and everything's going to be perfect and great and everybody's making money and rolling it. I don't see that happening. It's going to be a year, maybe two, before it starts coming back. But when I really look back into the books, when I first started, 12, 13, 14, I honestly, right now, with the freight the way it is, I can look back and scratch my head and go, how were we moving it for that back then? And it's paying more now and everybody's complaining about it. I think everybody's so used to the overinflated prices that they expect that. Like right now, we have an opening in one of our 660s that's opening for a driver, and I get a lot of people looking for a job, and we take a lot of phone calls, applicants, and whatnot. And what I've found to see in this industry is in the last 3-4 years, the people that have gotten into it, they think that a company driver wanting to be home every weekend is going to make $125,000, and it's not realistic. But that's when they came into it. That's all they know. They don't know what the actual market really is for truck driving. And it's good for them, but it's not good for them because they're dealing with unrealistic expectations, you know. So it's going to be hard for as company guys coming into a different company or looking for more. I tell anybody that's looking like that, don't outstep your bounds of what you're making, because what you make this year isn't a promise next year unless you're on a salary, and that's just trucking in a nutshell.
As far as shifts in the HDR business itself to adapt to the revenue cost squeeze, Dane Wisneski admitted to being stumped in some ways, if you will.
Well, I wish I actually had an actual answer for it. I don't know. That's the word I would say. I don't know, because when I look at the books and when I try moving numbers around, I'm not gonna lie, and I can tell you there's a lot of guys that are in the same boat here. I'm not the only one, but there are weeks where I'm sitting there scratching my head going, man, somebody's got to turn a light switch on here because we're gonna go broke. You know, that's just truck driving, but it has been excessive the last few years. And breakdowns, yeah, it's been crazy. A lot of it comes down to luck sometimes, and I don't care. You can make your own luck, but you have to have luck in a nutshell, because this specific truck started out with the ISX Cummins, and we've gone through 3 motors in 3 years. I am now on my 4th motor in this truck, and we went to a cat just because it's something that I don't know. I never was around them, but everybody has longevity on them, so we're trying something different. It can cause a lot of stress and marital things and stuff like that when you're talking about money, because it's not easy, you know. There's a lot of times I didn't pay myself or my wife for a long time because we just had to make those work, and people don't realize that. They see all the flashy trucks and they're like, wow, it must be nice. Well, yeah, maybe the bank owns about 3/4 that, if not, more. It's just the way it goes. But we try to be open and upfront like that, and that's, the hardships are always going to be there, whether you're making all kinds of money or you're at the bottom spectrum and one truck, one in it. You just got to weather the storm and keep rolling with it.
Finally, Matt Cole spoke to Nate Stone, owner-operator out of Northern Illinois and trucking in a 2005 Kenworth W9 he was showing at Waupun. He's relatively new to truck ownership and leased to Jason Yeager's trucking business, hauling lumber and other commodities with a Conestoga. He's just in his 2nd year of truck ownership and getting his bearings with respect to cost management. It's been interesting, to say the least, in this freight economy.
A year ago yesterday, so it's been 7 years now. I started on a farm. I got my CDL through them, And then my sister was a dispatcher for a crane company, so then I got in with them. And then I always wanted to haul big stuff, so then they trained me on hauling big cranes. So I hauled cranes for 5 years and kind of got tired of the corporation life. I was like, I think I could do this on my own, so gave her a shot. So it's my second year now, and it's going okay. I can't complain. So at the time, I didn't have family or kids, so I was like, I need to make money, and I ran, I didn't turn down anything. I went wherever, he's like, hey, you want to go here? I'm like, I'll try anything once, But he's like, when I leased out with Jason, he's like, I wish you would have started like last year, 2 years ago when Trump was in office. So he's like, we made a killing. He's like, we're doing all right. He's like, just work your ass off and you'll be all right. So, I mean, yeah, that's why I was concerned with buying this truck. It's not cheap by any means, but I've been doing all right. Now that I'm on my own, like, being a company driver, you don't care about equipment, but like now that it's mine, I like, got to try and baby it a little bit. And it's like with pulling a Conestoga, because he gave me the option of pulling a flatbed or a Conestoga. I'm like, I'm fat and lazy. I'll take the Conestoga life, But they're like, you're not going to get good fuel mileage. I'm like, that's fine. It beats throwing tarps in the winter and the rain. So that's the one thing that irritated me running down south. You get rained on, then you come up in the north and your tarps freeze. I'm like, come on. So it's load and go pretty much. So I can't complain. We do pretty much all lumber. It kind of avoids like coils and stuff like that, but we do a lot of lumber, and then like steel, like flat plate steel and stuff like that. But pretty much our dedicated stuff out of Wisconsin goes anywhere, and then just kind of brings something off the load board coming back. So it works out.
Stone's hopeful that with the election decided, particularly if it sends the Republican back to the White House, freight will improve, but he's not betting his truck on that, as it were.
I keep hearing it's going to get worse. I'm like, hopefully, yeah, I don't think it can get any worse, but I know guys, like, instance, I ran out to Maine, and there was a load from Boston going back to Minneapolis, and we tried getting it for a couple $1,000, and Jason called the broker, and the broker's like laughed at him and hung up, and Jason saw it on the load board for $800 for a 1,200 mile run. I'm like, come on. I don't get it. And and that's the other thing, like, people are complaining about not making payments on anything. It's like, freight's not paying anything. You guys keep taking cheap freight, so it's
Matt Cole then referenced some of the conventional wisdom among the freight economy analysts of late, who project certainty delivered with a clear election winner later this year. Whoever wins might settle the moods of the spenders all around the U.S. and deliver at least some measure of improving freight rates, maybe even cost conditions for truckers in the new year of 2025. Did Nate Stone put a lot of stock in that point of view? Cole asked. Stone wasn't quite 100% about how he felt about it, other than to say that he could hope, at least, they were right in some way.
I hope so. It'd be nice to, that's what it does. It goes up and down. So hopefully we're at the bottom, and hopefully she'll start going up soon.
And we can hope right along with it, though we've been talking about bumping along the bottom, as it were, of freight markets for more than a year now. Whatever the case, join us this coming Thursday for the live event with owner-operator coach and Overdrive contributor Gary Bucks, owner-operator Ilya Denisenko, and small fleet owner and past small fleet champ Jason Cowan on building business for the down business cycles in trucking. Hope to see you there. Find a link to register for the event in the show notes or in the post that houses this edition of Overdrive Radio when it's live on August 19th, 2024 at overdriveonline.com/overdrive-radio. Here's a big thanks for listening wherever you get your podcasts. Overdrive Radio is on Spotify and SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts and YouTube, Overdrive's Facebook page, and any listening platform, really. You can leave us a review there if you're enjoying these. A big thanks in advance for that. Overdrive Radio is a production of Overdrive, the voice of the American trucker. It's edited and produced by me, Todd Dills, with the acoustic guitar and other support of trucker-songwriter Long Haul Paul Marhofer. The theme is Legend of the Snake Man by Marhofer. featuring the guitar work of Travis, the Snake Man himself, Lamech. Terry Tusock featured on bass, keys by Tishomingo, Jim Whitehead, and on drums, Andrew Marshall. The podcast is backed up further by Overdrive's own social media coordinator, Jasmine Campbell, news editor, Matt Cole, we heard from today, executive editor, Alex Lockey, and video editors, Lawson Rudisell and Andrew Glenn. We'll see you next time.